eventually, kind of, stood up and postured myself in a very prideful way, you kind of lose focus. Sometimes you have to step outside of yourself. And how can we go refocus our attention on how we can serve others in this time?
And so I've just been praying, Lord, how do we see the people that really need the most help, the people that need groceries, the people that need encouragement. And so I thought of Kemp.
If there's a way for us to engage or to be involved, man, we want to do that. And I think that we've been transparent in some of the different events and activities that we've done, not only from the platform of Love Akron, but what we've been able to do now in partnership with other organizations.
Don't do anything else today. Just make sure that you love Akron.
Make sure that you love Akron.
Whatever you do today, wherever you go today, just make sure that you love Akron.
And early on, one of the things I said to Coach Kemp was, I'm an employee of Love Akron. We're going to do this black and white conversation. Conversation versus collision. I said, Coach, if we're going to do this, and then we're going to get to that point where we're just rocking and singing Kumbaya, I was like, then can I respectfully ask that you count me out? Because one, if this is not a forever challenge or assignment, if this is not something that we're going to do forever, I just don't want to do it. I want to do something that's going to truly make impact. So I think it's important for us to make note of the fact that this is a commitment from Love Akron forever.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another encounter here at Love Akron Live. I am Coach Kent Boyd, Executive Director of Love. And man, just so excited today to be with you because I think we have another phenomenal list of guests that are going to be with us today. We have Dr. Smith who's going to be coming on and giving us our COVID vaccine update that he always delivers to us. But also we have some city council members that are going to be on with us today. We have Madam President Margot Somerville and also City Council member Thomas Malik. And so excited for them to be with us. Man, we really need to hear about what's going on in our city and what they're excited about, how they are loving Akron through their civic service of our city and the wards that they represent. And so, again, I'm Coach Kent Boyd, Executive Director of Love Akron. And just let me tell you what I'm excited about. You can go to different meetings and things of that nature, and we call them here at Love Akron. We don't necessarily call them meetings. We like to have encounters with individuals. We feel like having encounters with individuals brings us to a place where we really get to know about people and about what they're doing, what's going on in their lives, so that we can kind of meet them where they're at in this encountering process. So today, man, just had a really great discussion with a brother that I've been able to know here for a long time, and he was just able to speak into me. Have you ever been a part of some of those encounters where it's just two people just really sharing and speaking in to each other and really meeting each other at a place that you didn't realize you needed until you got it? It was one of those type of dialogues. It was just really beautiful. It was really great. So I'm riding on a high with really productive encounters today. I'm really meeting with really good people who are doing really good things to help Love Akron in a really impactful way. And so excited. Before I came on here, I was on the phone call with my sister Ann Green over at Summit County Children's Services. Shout out to Ann and all the great work that's going on at Summit County Children's Services, and really the great work that we're doing to partner with them to really help to raise this awareness about the need for fostering children here in Summit County. It's a tremendous need here. And I think there's a lot of us that are kind of unfamiliar with that. And so again, what we look to do is to raise the level of awareness of what's really going on here in our city. And Ann has been a part of many of our encounters throughout the course of time. And so I'm sure she's going to be back to be with us as we continue to move forward and as we go on. So excited about that today. Excited about the sun shining. It's a great time. Man, it's football season is raring up, so we got workouts. There's just a lot of beautiful things that are happening. And something personal that is happening to me this weekend. I have my set of twins. They're 11 years old, Asa and Ashley. They're going to be turning 12 on Sunday. So just excited for them to see where the time goes, right? And we have to really embrace time. We have to embrace the message that we have with each other and really lean into the things that are happening going on. So I'm excited to celebrate them on this week and on this weekend. And man, just really, I'm just so blessed. I'm blessed. My wife Stacey is doing well. Our family's well. The organization that I'm allowed to steward over is doing well. Players at Kimball Garfield is doing well. Church, Garden City, shout out to Garden City, is doing well. And it seems like our city is in a good place, at least getting in a better place. And so the people that we have on today are going to help us talk through some of those things and really allow us to see what's happening going on behind the curtain. So I'm really thankful for our guest time today because they're making time to come on here, their knowledge, their information, their wisdom with us, but also hopefully what displays that you see is how they're loving Akron from where they are. So with no further ado, I want to bring on our first guest, Dr. Smith, who's going to kind of give us an update again on COVID. What are we seeing here in Summit County? What are the numbers saying? What is it saying as far as people that are vaccinated? Not that we're saying that you should or you need to, but I think it's important to present you with information to really see where we are and where we're going. And he's also going to present you information if you are unsure, he's going to present different myths, different facts about COVID, but also the vaccine. So if you are looking to be
to increase your knowledge on COVID and also the vaccine, this is the place that you want to be at, and this is the doctor that you want to hear from. So we are excited to bring on my friend who has become a regular here with us. One day I'm going to surprise you, Dr. Smith. You're going to moderate our whole show today. So, but I'm building you up to that. That's what I'm doing. I'm reeling you into that host, if you will, perspective. So, but again, thanks so much for being with us today. And man, how continue to give us the updates on what's going on with COVID, but also the vaccine here in Summit County.
Excellent. I'm happy to do that. First, happy birthday to the twins. That's awesome. Although I caution you that means a year from now you'll have teenagers. So
absolutely.
that's a good thing in general. But yes. So as long as they keep getting older and we don't, we're all happy, right? So
that's right. That's right.
So let's see, real quick update. Where are we at? I'll do a little bit of national, Ohio, and a little bit of local, actually. So as of yesterday, we have had about 33 million COVID cases and almost 600,000 deaths across the United States. So truly a horrible pandemic. No way to ignore it or pretend it hasn't happened or isn't still happening. That part's very sad. And in Ohio, we've had about 1.11 million cases and about 20,000 deaths from COVID. So again, it hits home, unfortunately. Obviously, some of those have been in Summit County. The great news, though, last time I said good news, I'll say great because the trend continues that since December, we have been going down in terms of the number of cases. That's awesome. I should remind everybody that downslide coincides with more and more people getting vaccinated. There's more and more evidence now that the vaccine really is the way out of the pandemic. And I'll give you a few more facts in a few moments. But I truly encourage anybody who is hesitant up to this point, please try to get past that, get the vaccine, get both doses. If you choose to get Moderna or Pfizer, or the single dose, if you get Johnson & Johnson, they really are very effective, and they are the only way we're going to get fully out of this pandemic. So where are we at right now with vaccines? In Ohio, we have about 4.8 million people fully vaccinated. That's about 41.3% of the population. 5.45 million have had at least one dose, so that's 46.6%. They did actually, of note, see a bit of an uptick when they started the Vax-A-Million, which I'm still disappointed I haven't won yet, but we can all hope. So that is a positive thing. On the other hand, we've seen that across the country, the vaccination rate has dropped off a lot. You're probably hearing the news that President Biden and others are looking to even give or sell our current vaccine extra to other countries because it's going to expire. We can't keep it around. We certainly don't want to throw it away. We'd rather either give it away or get some of the money back with other people and continue this because it's a worldwide problem. So again, get out, get the shot. I'll give you that website at the end here. In Ohio, I'm sorry, I should give you the United States data. United States, about 140 million people are fully vaccinated. That's 42.8%. But 171.7 million have had at least one dose. Almost all those people statistically have shown go on to have their second dose. So that would get us over the 50% mark. We'd be at 52.3% of fully vaccinated people. So that's the right direction. It's not anywhere near the 70% or so that all of our leaders have been on board with. Biden, CDC, Dr. Fauci, et cetera. Everybody thinks to really get out of this pandemic, we would like to hit 70%. So that's a lot of millions of people more, some of whom live right here in Summit County. The other positive about the vaccine is that it appears to be working quite well against any of the common variants. As in the beginning, there was only one version of COVID-19. Over time, it mutates, as any virus does. The most common variant in the United States right now is actually not the original variant. It's actually the United Kingdom variant, the UK variant, about 70% of what's in Ohio now. You may have heard that there is a potential threat from the Delta variant. That's the name they've given the variant from India, which has really been horrible in India. It represents a small percentage of the cases in Ohio right now, but it is here. And the concern is that we want to make sure people get vaccinated. One dose, they've done science studies now, one dose of either Moderna or Pfizer gives about 1/3 of the people who receive it protection from that variant, but 2 doses gets you up to 88%. So that's huge. That's a big difference in getting those 2 vaccines. And then any of the 3 vaccines, and we believe this is true for the Delta variant. I was reading about this last night and this morning again, just to make sure before I came on this wonderful show. It does appear that any of the vaccines will keep you out of the hospital. So if you get the shot, that doesn't guarantee you won't be one of the small percentage who get a little bit ill from COVID if you ever get COVID, but you're not going to get so ill that you end up in the hospital or worse, which is, of course, the ongoing fear. So that's the quick update. I'll recap a few other important things for those of you who remain hesitant. We've been working on vaccines since 1798. Again, not 1998, 1798. So not long after the United States became a country, we're about to celebrate that here coming up on July 4th. 1798, we've had knowledge about DNA for a long time, many, many decades. And in 1953, Watson and Crick gave us the double helix model, which turns out to be accurate, of DNA. And then, of course, we've worked on messenger RNA, that's mRNA, which is really how the vaccines work, for decades. So please don't be hesitant, oh, this is somehow new. It really isn't new. It happens that because we were in 2019 going into 2020, our technology was there to create a vaccine quickly. If this had happened in the year 2000, wouldn't have happened like that. We would have had a lot more people getting sick long before we had vaccines. The fact is those 20 years made a difference in us being ready in our science worldwide to be able to do something about this. None of the vaccines cause COVID because they don't contain the virus. So none of the current vaccines contain the virus at all. So you can't get it. They don't cause autism. They don't contain any microchips. Truly, these are the things you're all hearing. None of those are true. It's straightforward. It's a way to trick our immune system into believing that we've got the virus in our bodies. We don't. We're going to have a tiny piece of the virus in the bodies. And our bodies are amazing. That's why I'm a physician. I think the human body and the human mind is amazing. So our bodies then react to that foreign intruder, the little spike protein that we put in there in the vaccine, and our immune system ramps up and creates antibodies. What does that mean? That means that if I then get exposed to actual COVID virus, my body is ready to fight it off very quickly. I might not even notice that I got the virus. That's actually the vast majority of people who have been vaccinated. If I get a little bit sick, it's going to be very brief, and it's really telling me, yeah, that my body got inhaled, mostly that's how we're getting it, inhaled the virus, and my body's fighting it off. And literally some people, it's a day later and they're better. Most never even noticed that they got the virus. Pfizer, you can get this now age 12 and older, 2 shots 3 weeks apart. Moderna is currently still 18 and older, two shots 4 weeks apart, but they're right now seeking approval for 12 years old and older because they've been doing those tests in the background. Johnson & Johnson remains right now age 18 and older, and that's the one-shot vaccine, which again also has very good efficacy against the viruses. So that is great news. They're actually testing now the Pfizer vaccine in United States and Europe. They're working to test people under 12. So they're actually looking to really hit all the children now because we really want to wipe this COVID off the face of the earth, quite frankly, so we don't have to worry about it coming back frequently and so forth over the course of, in effect, new flu seasons. One quick thing that just hot off the press, June 11th, that's coming up here from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock at Summit County Public Health Building out on West Market Street, same building that the ADM board's in fact. You can get a free Giant Eagle gift card. If you get your first shot, they'll give you the $10. If you get the Johnson & Johnson, they'll give you a $20 gift card. So you don't even have to wait for Vax-A-Million. You can get something in exchange for getting the vaccine as early as June 11th. So please consider that. If you need a little extra incentive, the concept of the 10 versus 20 is it appears their plan is to give another $10 card out when people get their second shot if they choose to get Moderna or Pfizer. So I think that's great news. If you sign up, and I hope some of you will if you haven't been vaccinated, it's a simple website, gettheshot.coronavirus.ohio.gov. Gettheshot.coronavirus.ohio.gov. Again, getting the vaccine, the worst case scenario is you're going to feel a little bit of achiness, maybe some soreness in your arm, maybe even a mild fever, and you kind of feel blah for about a day. Mine lasted for only a few hours the day after that I got my second shot. Mine was Moderna, which is what was available that day. But then I was better. And that's the story I've heard from most people. They either felt nothing after their second shot, or they felt something mild for a day or less. And that compares to weeks of not feeling well and possibly ending up in the hospital and possibly dying from coronavirus if you actually get COVID-19. I don't think there's a trade-off there. Get the shot. So what if you don't feel great for a day? It's way better than worrying about it. And I will tell you once again, as I said before, the single biggest side effect from getting the vaccine is relief. And I'm open for questions.
Awesome. So, I mean, Doc, you do always a very comprehensive job of kind of covering everything, whether it's the myth, the facts, but also explaining kind of what the vaccine does. And there's still those people out there who are still, if you will, maybe more in the myth category. Is there maybe a website or a link that you can send people to, or that they can get to kind of read about what maybe some of the facts are versus some of the myths?
Yeah, great idea, Coach. So I would say that go to only the science-based sites. So Ohio Department of Health has a lot of information on there about COVID, including what's going on in Ohio, but in general, as does the Center for Disease Control, which really is the parent organization, if you will, of health departments. So I would stick with those two sites. You're going to get, not only will you get the up-to-date information, you're going to get even what they're looking at. What are they studying? What are they trying to find? You'll also learn, and I'll mention this again, that if people are hesitant, you should be aware now that we are somewhere around 2 billion vaccines have been given out worldwide. And you heard me tell you, 100 and some million here in the United States. They are watching for side effects. If there were side effects for people, we would have already discovered them. And the best example is Johnson & Johnson. You all heard it was yanked from the market. They found 6 cases out of millions of people, actually out of billions of people. They found 6 cases. They were women, and they had a clotting disorder that seemed to be a side effect of Johnson & Johnson. They immediately pulled it off the market. They don't want anybody to get harmed by the vaccine. It doesn't matter about race or any of that. They don't want anybody getting harmed. They yanked them. And then they studied it for about a week or so to find out what was going on. I think they've had a total of now 30 cases. And again, that's amazing that they can identify those 30 out of, 2 billion people vaccinated. And they were able to determine how to solve the problem. They put it back on the market. So if you were to get Johnson & Johnson, if you were to get that side effect, the doctors now nationwide know how to solve it so you won't end up harmed by that side effect. That's amazing. And I would hope that would decrease some hesitancy as well, because truly this is about wellness and health and prevention. Nobody wants to harm anybody. That's the sole truth of this, not only in the United States and Ohio, but worldwide.
Absolutely. And Dr. Smith, you mentioned, as you were kind of giving your update to us, you mentioned a website that you were going to leave us with and give us before you check that.
Yes. So it's pretty straightforward, although it's lengthy. So it's Get the Shot, all one word, and then you do have to repeat the T's in there. So get, G-E-T, the, T-H-E, shot, S-H-O-T, .coronavirus, coronavirus, .ohio.gov. However, if you simply Google COVID vaccine Ohio, it's going to, that first website, and I did it actually right before the show here, the first one that comes up is, and there it is, thank you, they put it on the screen for you. So it's very straightforward. They ask you a few quick questions, and then they're going to, boom, tell you where can you go get the vaccine, and you can sign up right then and there. The other good news is when you sign up, they'll set it up so you'll be able to plan your second shot as well. So you can plan it around your schedule so you're going to get it within the correct time frames, which what I mean by that are the science-based, the research-based time frames of 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And they've also discovered now if you get it slightly later, it's not going to hurt you. So if your 3 weeks needs to become 4 or your 4 becomes 5, the reality is you still end up with great immunity. So don't get too nervous at all. I've got to work on that 28th day. They'll work with you.
Okay. I appreciate your time today, Dr.
Thank
Smith.
you.
And before we let you go, we always do this and end this way, but I don't think you've ever said it. So what I'm going to simply say is if you don't do anything else, we're going to say love Akron. But I got to get you saying this, all right? I'm making a whole collage of people saying this, all right? So, hey, before I let you go, Dr. Smith, if you don't do anything else today, make sure that you love
Akron.
Akron, my man. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for your time. We'll see you next time.
Very good. Thank you again.
So, man, really grateful for Dr. Smith and all the knowledge that he is passing along to us in regards to COVID and also the vaccine. And so our next guest that we're gonna lean into and talk to are, man, two of our civic leaders in our community, serving our community really well from the platform of City Council. We have Madam President Margot Somerville and also Councilman Shamus Malik. So if we can bring them on it out, I want to kind of talk to them both at the same time, just because I just want to have kind of some open dialogue. I have questions for both of them that I'll present to them individually, but also want them to be here to just to have some really kind-hearted discussion. So good afternoon and thanks for being with us.
Hello, Coach. Thank you so much for having us.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. So I'm going to start with you first, Madam President. Let me ask this. Man, I enjoy, I could call you by your name, but I like saying Madam President better. I just think it has a nice ring to it and it suits you very well. But along with being Madam President, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what else you do in the Akron area.
Absolutely. So not only am I president of Akron City Council and represent the 3rd Ward, I am also a business owner in Akron and a licensed funeral director at Somerville Funeral Services as well.
Awesome.
And then also I'm a mom of two little girls as well.
Awesome. Well, hey, congratulations on that. And that's really great. And Councilman Shamus, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Outside of being a civic leader and serving us really well on City Council, what else do you do within the city of Akron?
Sure. So I'm a lawyer by training and by trade. Just starting on City Council at the beginning of last year, and so I've been focused, entirely on council in terms of work and really, getting my feet under me and learning from President Somerville and from, many of my colleagues. But, in my spare time, just, I like running. I like things like this, having these kinds of conversations and being with people and, appreciate you bringing folks together. That's one of the greatest things about Akron is that there's so many special folks doing so many great things. And, we can really, I think that's really, our secret sauce.
I appreciate that. This question is going to be for both of you. Right now, I mean, we're not out of the pandemic, so I don't want to say that we're out of it, right? But I do want to know from both of you as individuals who are civic leaders who are leading wards and also sitting on City Council, what has you excited right now about our city?
Okay, well, I guess I'll take the first start at that. It has been a challenging, year and a half to say the least, but I'm excited and just have hope about all the things that are getting ready to happen here in the near future. We're extremely fortunate because of our newly elected president, President Biden, who has really made sure that cities and local governments have the resources that they need so that we can get a comeback and a bounce back from COVID. And so we've seen, COVID relief dollars come in and American Rescue dollars come in, really giving the city of Akron and Akron City Council an opportunity to hopefully place the city of Akron in a place stronger than we ever have been, even prior to COVID. So I'm excited about that so that we can begin to focus on housing and focus on gun violence and youth violence in our community, focus on making more investments in our neighborhood through our parks and our community centers and things of that nature. And so I'm excited about what the future looks like for the city of Akron.
No, I think that I agree entirely. And I think that when you look at the amount of money that's coming in, $145 million really is almost the amount of our annual budget. And so it gives us a great opportunity, but it's also a great responsibility because, we don't want to just sort of use the money and it doesn't have sort of lasting benefits. And so I think, one of the things that I know we're all thinking about is how can we do pilot programs and other things that really will help us alleviate some of the systemic problems we have, whether it's evictions, whether it's this high amount of gun violence, whether it's distrust between communities of color and law enforcement, whatever we're talking about. We should look at using this recovery money to deal with the things that made the pandemic so serious, right? The underlying kind of causes of this pandemic.
Yeah, man, I'm glad both of you went to that place as far as the recovery money. I was on a meeting this morning with Mayor Horgan and with a group of about 16 other people talking about the Stop the Violence prevention that is really being talked about. And so I want to lean into this for a minute because COVID has been described as a great revealer, right? And I think one of the things, and I'm sure we may all agree on this, it also revealed the disparities that we have within certain communities. And so the question is, with this relief recovery money that the city has gotten, how are we going to, and what do both of you feel like is the responsibility of council to make sure that money doesn't fall into the same big organizations that maybe a lot of money has always filtered into versus a lot of the boots on the ground, smaller nonprofits that are within communities actually doing the boots on the ground type of work? And I'm making a statement and a question all at the same time, but being council members and really seeing what we've come through in the past year, as far as with COVID and the disparities that have now been revealed, how do we make sure the right funding gets into the right hands or the right organizations? I'll start with you, Madam President.
Okay, Coach, and I think that's a great question. When we got word that we were going to be receiving these funds and we knew that it would be a big task and challenge, although particularly as elected officials, we always wish that, we had like this magic wand and all of this money. And, you would think it's so easy to figure out how you're going to spend all of this money. But really and truly, it is challenging, right? Because we have a lot of money, but, that money can quickly be spent on the wrong things. And so we want to be really intentional in terms of how we invest those dollars back into the community. And so we realized out of the gate that we did not necessarily know, the city and council, right, how we were going to exactly do that. And so what we wanted to do was kind of engage our nonprofits in this process and have them actually bring us proposals, ideas, and concepts of, how we could invest money to address some of the issues in the community as it relates to gun violence and housing and other things. And so we've kind of been opening up the channels of communication and allowing nonprofits and those who are on the ground to give us ideas of how these dollars could be and can be best spent.
And I think, going off of that, I think we have the opportunity to kind of look at the partnerships that are existing, because there are so many existing partnerships, but look how we can kind of take some of those to the next level. So take, again, policing, since we're talking about the amount of violence, right? We have, frankly, really great programs that are collaborations between our police department and mental health, right? They have weekly patrols that Community Support Solutions and APD officer will go out and do check-ins on folks who might be having a mental health issue. You have a quick response team where Summit County Public Health and a social worker and an officer go out and check on folks who have overdosed in the last week or two, right? But why don't we take that and make it even a more active partnership, right? And so adopt, one of the models that they're doing across the country, where we're actually sending some of those social service and mental health responders to some of our 911 calls that are lower risk, lower priority, that don't necessarily need an armed response, right? But that will help us create more capacity for our police department. So I think it's really looking at what we have and looking how this money can kind of supercharge those partnerships.
Appreciate that answer. Appreciate the candidness from both of you, really leaning into it and not moving away from it. This is why, in my experience with talking with both of you, you've always been very honest and upfront. So I really appreciate that. Let me ask both of you a question, because not only do both of you sit on a council with other people, and for you, Madam President, you're the president of the council, but both of you represent wards, right? Madam President, you represent Ward 3. Councilman Shamus, you represent Ward 8. Is there ever a time when you feel like there's kind of almost I need to advocate for my ward, but also I got to look at the broader perspective of the city and looking at what the city needs, and how do both of you balance that and kind of how you approach your civic leadership to our city while also carrying the responsibility of your ward? And Councilman Shamus, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, it's a really great question, and something I've been, trying to reflect on and trying to work on. One of the things, Ward 8 is a great place. Ward 8 has all kinds of folks, all kinds of income levels, all kinds of diversity racially and ethnically and religiously. But it is, all things considered, one of the more well-off parts of town, right? And that's not to say there aren't issues, but we don't have in Ward 8 necessarily the level of gun violence that you might have in a different part of town. But I think folks really recognize that those ward boundaries are to some degree arbitrary. And if this city is going to succeed, it requires all of the city succeeding, right? And so, I've tried to preach that message, but it's also the message that I hear from folks, right? And so, I think it really is about, obviously you have to advocate, for your neighborhood and to make sure that, we really, fix and have a direct focus on the issues that are going on in the neighborhood. But I think there is a reflection that we are all in this together. And if there's a place where the issue is more significant, then we're going to have to focus on that first. And I think folks understand that.
Yeah, thank you, Shamus. I think you did a great job answering that. I'll tell you, we have a great city council in the city of Akron. Honestly, everyone who sits around the horseshoe in Akron City Council has a really big heart for the city as a whole, as you have to. Although, we represent different segments and areas of the city, and each of those areas have, certain issues and problems and things that need to be addressed. Everyone really understands that in order for the city of Akron to be thriving, all wards have to be thriving. And so we've got a great council who understands that, and we're able to put priorities in places of the city where priorities best need to be placed. So there definitely is that challenge. But again, what city council has really been trying to do also is really focus on things that all of us can agree upon. City council embarked upon this conversation of reimagining public safety in the city of Akron. Although we represent different districts and areas of the city, public safety is a big concern for any and everybody. It doesn't matter where you live. And having these conversations of how we can make safety in our community better. How can we look at what we do well, and how can we find opportunities where we can be better? So again, I think it's all about also just finding those things that we have in common, but also just knowing that, all areas of the city have to be thriving if we want Akron to be strong and a thriving city.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate being around the horseshoe. I like that. What I also talked to you about an announcement that was made at the end of last year. I want to say it was around October, where Mayor Horgan announced that he was going to introduce a racial equity and social justice task force. And I just want to ask both you as council members, what do you hope becomes the impact of the task force? What do you hope that lasting or long impact can be here in the city of Akron for the task force? And I'm going to start with you, Councilman Shamus.
Yeah, so I know that obviously President Somerville and the mayor really consciously put this together as a plan that would bring community leaders, including yourself, Coach, together around different issues: education, housing, safety, and different things, and really create what I think the intention is to create like a 5-year plan that really will help tackle equity within each of these different issues. And I think, obviously that kind of undertaking is a challenge, right? And the scale is enormous and daunting, and that is a challenge. I've tried to focus my efforts on the criminal justice side of things, since that's kind of the impact that we're focusing on in reimagining public safety. But I think one of the things is considering, if it's going to be a 5-year plan, hopefully this kind of community kind of effort and this, what is essentially a volunteer effort, hopefully that can continue on into the future, right? Because I think that framework is really helpful, really leaning on and leveraging our community. There are things the city can do, but we can get input and advice and ideas from folks who are not necessarily within our city government structure. So I think that's really the focus, is that we should look to retain that structure and have it kind of be a continuous evolving thing.
Awesome. And so I want to piggyback on something you just said there, Councilman. And you said that Madam President and the mayor kind of sat together and did this. So let me ask you this, Madam President. Why was this so important for you to have something like this come take place in Akron?
Absolutely. Coach, the reality of it is that racism is real. And you know what? I'm just so glad that, we're having conversations and we're talking about it, because again, oftentimes these conversations, they're not easy conversations to have, but they are very necessary conversations. And so I'm just encouraged, we're bringing people together to look at racism as a public health crisis, bring diverse groups of people together. So, even in some of these working groups, I've just kind of seen, these conversations and how people are just being very open and candid and say, well, I don't really understand why is that? And they're talking, and through these conversations, we're having a better understanding of why you feel the way that you feel and why I feel the way that I feel. And so I think that's what it's all about, is for us to have these conversations, for us to look at these disparities that are happening in our very own city and create a plan to address them.
Man, that's really great. I really appreciate that. And being one that serves as a co-chair of one of these subcommittees, it's the amount of information I've learned. Bill Rich is just a wealth of knowledge and information. And also, President, your father, who's also in that committee with us, is a wealth of knowledge and information of a lot of the groundwork that has went on in Akron for decades that sometimes people are just not aware of or we haven't given voice to. And so the one thing I love about it is that I feel like we're giving a voice to those that have been, if you will, crying in the wilderness for a long time. Now we're giving them a platform to really voice what they're seeing, what their concerns are, but also, man, what's a solution? Man, we can all identify the problem, but how can we come up with viable solutions based on some of the recommendations that these subcommittees are going to have to come up with? I'm just so appreciative and so grateful for you all's efforts in making some of these things in the past. And so I'm going to give you one more question. It's going to be a softball question, nothing going to be too hard. So for you, Madam President, do you feel like, and how long did your father cast a shadow over you to where you were just Marco's daughter to now you're Margot Somerville, president of Akron City Council? How long did that exist? When did that kind of transition happen to where it's like, no, I'm standing on 2 feet now. Like, this is my dad. Not that you never felt like, but you know how people can put us in that box of, oh, that's Margot's girl. When did you feel yourself moving out of that, if you will, shadow?
Yeah, that definitely was a challenge. It's still a challenge for me to this very day. When I first ran for the very first time for Akron City Council, I knew I had, extremely big shoes to fill. And I told people, I can't fill his big shoes because I'm wearing stilettos, right? So it's just a whole different kind of vibe and thing because although he is my father, we are alike in some ways, but we're very different in other ways, just in terms of how we lead and how we communicate. And so it's been fun though. It's been fun, and I've been honored because again, he has taught me a lot. But one of the things that he has taught me is that listen, he believes you got to get out there and figure it out yourself. He don't give me no advice, believe it or not. I know a lot of people don't believe that. I have to learn things the hard way, but I appreciate that, right? Because again, that has helped me to get to where I'm at today. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And Shamus, I remember years ago when you was running, we met, I think the first time over at Akron Family that everybody seems to run into at one time in their life, right? And I remember I just appreciated your wanting just to listen. And so my question for you is why? Why city council? Why politics? Like, you have a background being a lawyer, man. You could have went and worked for a law firm, made buku bucks. You might be making buku bucks for all I know, right? But you could have really just lived in that place and not really get into civic leadership. So help me to understand, why was this so important for you to say, no, I need to lean into this and listen, but not just listen, but I need to learn.
Yeah, so I really appreciate the question, and definitely not making boku bucks, but my mom spent 20 years as a professor at the University of Akron. And to her, really, life was about finding something that you enjoy and using it to make people's lives a little bit better. And, growing up, I was in high school when President Obama came to the Knight Center in 2008. And the building, the line was wrapped around the building on a very, very, very cold day. But I've always been inspired by how government can make people's lives a little bit better, hopefully at its best, right? And, when we're talking about, you're just talking about the working group, right? You have, Marco Somerville, you have Bill Rich, you have Judge Stormer. You have people who know more about the criminal justice system than I think I will ever know, right? Mm-hmm. But I think, it's so, you learn so much from those folks by just sitting and listening, right? I've learned so much from you, Coach, by sitting and talking with you. I've learned so much from President Somerville, right? Just in the last, year and a half that we've been working together. And, sure, are there times when I need to speak and I need to, let my views be known? Sure. And I probably do that a little bit too much sometimes. But I think, we really, the beauty of our community is that you can just send a text to somebody or, send an email to somebody. Hey, do you have 45 minutes? Do you have an hour? Can you just tell me where you came from? And also, I think, Coach, there's so much value in that as a personal thing, right? In that, politics really at the end of the day is personal, and you learn about people, but also like where they're coming from, and where you have mutual interests and mutual feelings and things that we all care about together, shared priorities. And I think that's really the beauty in it, right? Because I know something about both of your lives and about what you care about. And together, hopefully that will let us build a little bit of a better community.
Man, thank you both so much for your time. And let me just thank you from a standpoint of your civic leadership and how you're helping to lead our city. And it's great, but also from a personal perspective, both of you, anytime I've ever reached out to you personally on a phone call, whether it's a question I had or a concern, both of you, man, answered the phone call and you called me back. So thank you for that. Margo, on another personal level, 2 years ago, you were there for me and my family at the loss of my sister-in-law, and the way that you provided and took care of our family, man, that means so much. So I'm very blessed and appreciative of both of you, not just from a civic leadership perspective, but also from a personal perspective that you spoke about, Councilman Shamus, about the relational aspect of this too. So thank you both for being with us today, and thank you for the information that you have provided us. And if anybody needs to get in touch with you, how can they do that? Do you have an email that they can contact if they have any comments or questions about anything?
All the contact information. Go ahead, President.
Go ahead, Travis. Go ahead.
all the contact information is on the city council website. So anyone can reach out, and I know both of us happy to respond as best we can.
Yes, please do.
Thank you so much. And again, y'all cannot leave until I get you on record saying, right, like, hey, if you don't do anything else today, make sure that you
love Akron.
Love Akron.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. And if you ever need anything from us, never hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Take care, Coach.
Yep. Wow, just another great time with great people, change makers here in Akron, talking about how they're loving Akron and presenting themselves as a resource. So, man, just excited again just to be here and to see all the great things that are going on. But we still have a long way to go and much work that we have to do. But here's the great thing about it. Let's do it together. Let's get out of our silos. Let's listen, learn, so that we can lead together to really help Greater Akron to thrive. And so in order for that to happen, it's going to take you. It's going to take you getting involved. It's just going to take you stepping out maybe of your comfort zone and do something that we're talking about around here at Love Akron. Man, we have to be willing to chase the lions. And so we're chasing the lions each and every day. And that's a great thing, because why? We're looking for ways, and not to run away from our problems and our obstacles, but we're looking for ways to lean into some of those problems and to do it in such a way, man, that's not only a blessing to ourselves, but it's a blessing to our city. And so we appreciate you being a part of this week's encounter and talking about community awareness from different change makers in our community. And we'll look to see you again next week as we continue to love Akron. So again, like I asked all of our guests, I'm going to ask you out there, our audience, if you don't do anything else today, make sure that you love Akron. Have a great day and enjoy the sunshine.
Much greater need in Akron that I can't see.
I could eventually, stood up and postured myself in a very prideful way. You kind of lose focus. Sometimes you have to step outside of yourself. And how can we go refocus our attention on how we can serve others in this time?
And so I've just been praying, Lord, how do we see the people that really need the most help? The people that need groceries, the people that need encouragement. And so I thought of Kemp.
If there's a way for us to engage or to be involved, man, we want to do that. And I think that we've been transparent in some of the different events and activities that we've done, not only from the platform of Love Akron, but what we've been able to do now in partnership with other organizations.
Don't do anything else today. Just make sure that you love Akron.
Make sure that you love Akron.
Whatever you do today, wherever you go today, just make sure that you love Akron.
And early on, one of the things I said to Coach Kemp was, I'm an employee of Love Akron. We're going to do this black and white conversation. Conversation versus collision. I said, Coach, if we're going to do this, and then we're going to get to that point where we're just rocking and singing Kumbaya, I was like, then can I respectfully ask that you count me out? Because one, if this is not a forever challenge or assignment, if this is not something that we're going to do forever, I just don't want to do it. I want to do something that's going to truly make impact. So I think it's important for us to make note of the fact that this is a commitment from Love Akron forever.